Hi guys, I'm Xinyi from China Xinhua News. Here I am today gonna take you guys to go through a very interesting tour of Chinese traditional culture. As we all know, the modern transportation, especially the infrastructure of highway, help boost the tourism. Things are particularly so at the city Qufu in Shandong province, East China. The small city is very famous for being hometown to a very famous and great Chinese ancient philosopher Confucius. But it is the infrastructure, the transport infrastructure that helps to make this small city to become a best known tourism resort. So we're gonna have a very interesting tour of this city today, and the first stop today we're gonna visit the Temple of Confucius. If we want to enter the temple, we have to go through this old gate or the old wall, and it is said the wall is the southern gate of the old Qufu city. And about the history today, I invite one of my friends. Yiwen here, who works for the company that in charge of the running of this whole area, to introduce some fun fact about the Temple of Confucius today. So say hi to everybody, Yiwen.
Hi, hello, welcome to Qufu and welcome to the Temple of Confucius.
Yeah. So, how about you telling us about this old gate, some history of this? What is the history of this gate?
All right. This gate, we call it South Gate of the city. And this city, we call it Qufu Main City. It's a former old city and the city wall enclosing the Confucius Temple. And this one firstly built in Ming Dynasty.
Wow.
So that's why we call it a Ming City.
So hundreds years ago.
Yes. Yeah. And this one is built in Ming Dynasty, and people built this one. The emperor would like to safeguard the Temple of Confucius, so that's why the city gate is also the temple's gate.
Yeah.
And on top we can see these four characters.
Yeah. Yes.
万仞宫墙.
Yes.
Those four characters is to describe Confucius' knowledge, and the meaning it's more than 10,000 meters higher palace wall. This one came from Confucius' disciple, Mr. Zigong.
Yes.
After Confucius' death, some people said his disciple Zigong is better than Confucius.
Yeah, his knowledge is better.
Yeah. And during that time, Mr. Zigong, he explained, for example, if we compare the knowledge into the wall, my wall is only few meters high.
Yeah.
All the people can see what is it inside my wall. But for my master, for Confucius' wall, it's really great. It's a few ren higher.
Yeah.
Ren, it's a traditional unit, is about 2.6 meters.
So.
And during Ming Dynasty, very famous scholar Mr. Hu Zuanzong came to Qufu. He wrote four characters, 万仞宫墙, changed the few ren into 10,000 ren. It means very great. It's to offer his own respect to Confucius. But those four characters was rewrote by Emperor Qianlong of last few dynasty, Qing Dynasty. When he came to Qufu, he rewrote those four characters because they also offer sacrificial ceremony to Confucius.
Wow, it's hard to imagine that just only one gate, it got so many fun facts and so many fun history stories. So now we enter to this gate, and going through this gate, we enter the Confucius Temple. So let's have a look and start our tour today. So the Temple of Confucius, also known as the Great Temple of Confucius, an ancient temple built in honor of the sage, is built in the 1724, and after the Han Dynasty, emperors of every dynasty continually enlarged and restored the temple and Confucius' tomb. The Great Temple of Confucius in the town was built in 1724. Inside the large ceremonial hall of the temple is a large statue of Confucius, surrounded by statues of his disciples. The temple itself stands within a larger oblong-walled enclosure that covers about 49 acres, and around which the town of Qufu expanded. Inside the enclosure is an extensive complex of Confucian temples, shrines, monuments, and pavilions. The enclosure contains a house that stands on the site of the one Confucius lived in, an ancient tree said to have been planted by the sage, and a well from which he drank. Actually, Confucius is not only a very great philosopher, but also he is a very good teacher. And here we are at the place said to be where he used to give lectures to his disciples. And even just told me this place got the name Xingtan, which is in English Apricot Altar, just because his descendants planted a lot of apricot trees around this place to commemorate his their great ancestor, right?
Right. Actually, this small altar was firstly built in Song Dynasty. During that time, it's a small platform without a pavilion on the ground.
Oh, right.
But after Jin Dynasty, they firstly built the small pavilion.
Pavilion, right?
Yeah.
Is this pavilion we see now the very pavilion that built in Qing Dynasty?
Yeah. The last reconstruction is Qing Dynasty. Inside the pavilion, we can see two pieces of stone stele. First one, we see this one is Jin Dynasty, very famous calligrapher, Mr. Dang Huaiying. And two characters was written and also was written and also was carved by himself. It's an Apricot Altar. It's the traditional calligraphy.
So what about this stele?
This one, on top we can see two dragons together. So this
Yeah.
one is Emperor Qianlong. He's a stone stele. And this one, it's two poems. When the Emperor Qianlong came to Qufu to the temple, and he wrote a poem to describe his respect to Confucius and to Confucius' philosophy. Actually, Confucius' private school is not here. So,
It's not here.
yeah.
Well, then where is his private school located in?
We know Confucius period is a spring and autumn period in ancient China.
Yes.
Commonly, he leads his disciples to the small forest, to the bank of the river, and sitting on a floor, and to teach them traditional or cultural books. Yeah. So this one is to tell us here it's more like cultural symbol.
Oh, so it's just a symbol the descendants or the generation his offsprings built to commemorate him,
Yeah.
not just the very right place he taught students. Okay, so yeah. And the Apricot Altar is located outside of a very famous building, Dacheng Hall, just in front of us. And Dacheng Hall is very famous. It's the main hall located inside the Confucius Temple. And just I know even every year the descendants of the Confucius from all around the world will gather here in the Temple of Confucius and just in front of the Dacheng Hall to hold a very big ceremony to commemorate his ancestor, right?
Yeah, exactly. Here is the main building inside the Temple of Confucius. And Dacheng Hall actually is also came from his followers, Confucius followers, Mengshi's book. Mengshi said Confucius, he made great achievement during his whole life. So great achievement, that means 大成. But this hall firstly built in Song Dynasty. And after Song Dynasty, people enlarged this one and rebuilt again and again. The last time it's during Qing Dynasty. Emperor Yongzheng, it's 1724. They rebuilt this one because of the lightning. So all the buildings burned down.
The cost destroys
Yeah.
too.
So they rebuilt this one. And in front of this great achievement hall, we can see this kind of dragon pillar columns. And in front of the hall, it's 10 columns. On each column, it's 2 dragons together. All the dragons is carved, it's a deep carved
Yeah.
and carved by hand from one whole piece of stone.
It's very beautiful and it's carved very delicately.
Yeah.
It's just artwork, 10 pieces of artwork.
And beside this, on both sides and even on back of the hall, also have another 18 pillars. It's also dragon pillar.
Okay.
Around the Great Achievement Hall, totally we have the dragon carving. It's 1296. And this number, according to the Chinese legend, it's also it's the total number of the dragon in all of the world.
So what is inside of this hall?
For the main building of the temple, inside that is the statues
Statue of
Yeah.
Confucius.
And the other disciples and his followers.
Yeah.
Totally, we have 17 statues inside. In the middle, that is Confucius, but this one also was rebuilt in 1983 by Shandong provincial government.
So we can see now the door is closed because for the protection of this hall, right? But when in the special occasion like the big ceremony every year held by the descendants of the Confucius, the door will open and the descendants from all around the world and some people from all walks of society will go inside and may bow to the statue to show their respect.
Get on their knees.
Yeah, maybe
It's
for
a
the
tradition.
descendants, yes. It's the tradition to get on their knees to kowtow for the statue to show their respect for this great philosopher and for the descendants, the great ancestor of them. So we took a great journey and took a great tour around this. Our first stop, this beautiful temple located in the Qufu city. And thank you, Yiwen, to spend time with us and tell us a lot of fun facts and historian stories. And also, we know a lot of knowledge hidden in every site of this temple. So I hope you guys like this temple and like this tour. And now we're gonna go marching to the second stop, which is a very fun store held by a special company in Qufu City. Well, the infrastructure did not just bring tourists to this small city, but also business. Well, in ancient China, people tend to use the seals for showing their identity when writing letters or finishing their paintings. And although nowadays people tend not to use that much the seals, or people tend not to write that much, but they are still so fond of the Chinese seals. So our final stop, we come to a special company which sells Chinese seals. The company's running mechanism is that they take orders online to customize Chinese seals for people. And you might think this is just small business, but last year, this small company, it created the revenue of more than 100 million yuan. Actually, making seals is not just for showing people's identity now, but also the carving itself becomes a kind of art. Although people don't write that much as they do in ancient time, they might not use that much of seals as they used to, but it still can be used for the once in a while special occasion. So what is the magic hidden in a very small seal? Let's find out. Today we invite Mr. Zhai Yi to show us how to make a customized small seal. Let's see, Mr. Zhai is working on the seal. And when making the seal, firstly, you have to choose the right material. Chinese seals are typically made of stone, sometimes of metals, wood, bamboo, plastic, or ivory. Here, this seal is made of stone. When choosing the material, you have to be especially careful because you don't want the material to be too hard or too soft, because either of these qualities are not good for the carving. We can see Mr. Zhai here. He is carving along the pattern which is gotten online for the customers ask. And people tend to carve their names on the seal or the models or the sentence they want to remember. Here on the seal, we can see the Chinese characters means gaining new insights through reviewing old material. It came from the famous Analects of Confucius. Usually it takes 15 to 20 minutes of Mr. Zhai to curve a customized seal. When finishing curving, then you start to polishing the seal and you waxing it and then wrap it up. It will be ready to go. So it's very hard to say that, but it's time to say goodbye today. And today we have the very good experience touring the Temple of Confucius, and we have a look at the novel industry of selling seals at the Qufu city. So if you want to find more interesting stuff, please follow us, and I will see you guys around.